This U.S. roster that players are called in for this camp, there are 4 players that are receiving their first-time call-ups. Huge shouts to them. Congratulations. Defenders Jordan Bugg, Lily Real, and Izzy Rodriguez, and midfielder Sam Meza. Now, these are just 4 of 27 players under Emma Hayes that have earned their first-time call-ups. And when you think about some of those players, they are now namestays. Emily Sams, who won gold last summer at the Olympics. The Giselle Thompson getting called in, Lola Bonta, some of the goalkeeper pool as well, Carrie Bello, Croy Bethune. It's crazy to think about this. Sandra, when we look at the 4 that are now called in, Bugg, Real, Rodriguez, and Meza, why these players? Why these 4 now at this time with the U.S.?
It's a part of what the coaching staff has kind of been doing throughout this season. I mean, we're watching a direct correlation between this coaching staff likely scouting the league and their teams and these players and how they're performing for their clubs, and then seeing that connection into these particular windows. Lily Real is a player that has, at this point in the season, at the halfway mark, has shown that she's become a bona fide starter for Gotham, which is not an easy thing to do in your rookie season. Has absolutely found herself integrated in attacks, has found herself maybe still adapting to certain stretches of play in NWSL, but even within that, watching her quick reactions and her quick ability to adapt is getting her into the mix here. And then a Sam Mesa, who found herself maybe needing a little bit longer to build up into that form as a pro, and now it's paying off with something like this as a call-up. It's like it's often times where you look at these moments as like the pinnacles of players and their careers, and they often say if they get that sniff, if they get that look at a national team camp, it means a little bit of layers of validation for them, that they are doing the right things, or at the very least trending in the right direction. And I think for all of these players in certain capacities, they have done that over the course of this year, or even dating back to 18 months back. When we look at a player like Jordan Bugg, who has been navigating her professional career with Seattle Reign since about midway of 2024. So they've also been on, let's not lie here. These are players that have also found themselves even on like highlight reels in NWSL. Jordan Bugg is a center back who's let an incredible goal rip from distance. Lily Real has been on these highlight reels. Sam Meza is coming off of an incredible game with Seattle Reign off of this last week and going into these national team camps. I think to borrow a line from Hayes, the data don't lie, right? Like, it's out there for them, and we are seeing these performances week to week in NWSL, and then seeing these call-ins into national team camps.
Out of those players, who do you want to see most get some playing time?
I know I've talked a lot about Lily Real, but I really do hope Izzy Rodriguez gets some minutes in this one. There's no Emily Fox, in this camp. There's 3 games in front of them. We're talking about the Ireland match specifically, but there's 2 against Ireland, and then on the horizon, Canada. So there's minutes to go around here. So I'm hopeful that it's Izzy Rodriguez. I think she's a deeply underrated player in the league. Maybe not so much on Kansas City Current, because her teammates know what she provides week in and week out, but I definitely hope we see her cutting up on the flanks.
Yes, and she's going to be cutting up too if she gets some playing time. I know she's going to prove herself. She's a player too that I'm excited to watch as well.
The left back role is really crucial for the U.S. because it is essentially wide open at this point, and we have seen Hayes consistently bring in trying out left-footed players, Carrie Bello, Lily Real, Izzy Rodriguez. And if I'm Real or Rodriguez, even Carrie Bello at this point, I'm saying I need to solidify myself as, if not the number 1 in the left back, the number 2. I need to be in there. They need me as a left-footed player. How can I set myself apart? And it's going to come down to, I think, tiny moments in training that we're not privy to as people outside of the camp, but how they're acting as professionals and bringing themselves in. But when we look at Bugg, Real, Rodriguez, and Meza, these are not players that are unfamiliar with U.S. soccer. They are all part of the youth programs. When you look at Bugg, Real, and Meza, they were with the U23s in Germany just a camp ago. So I think Emma Hayes has really answered that there's going to be a lot of up and down. Shaw, Corbin Albert. These are ball players that have gone up and down. When you think realistically, Jess, at a major international tournament like the 2023 World Cup, how many spots are there actively available, realistically available for players?
I might need for. Can you hear me okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I lost you for.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of.
I heard a little.
Oh
no, am I back? Can you hear me?
You're back now.
You're back now.
You might have to repeat yourself. I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. I'm saying that there's a lot of up and down between the U23. And when you think realistically at a spot at a 2027 World Cup with the U.S. women's national team, how many positions are realistically available for any of these 27 players that Hayes has called in for their first time?
Ooh, that's a very juicy question. I'm going to think for the strikers here. You know what? I think the Triple Espresso have their spots. I think they're all going to be back, come this next World Cup. But I would say that in the forward position, just because, the numbers are usually much bigger in the forward position in major tournaments than all the other positions. So I would say that, there's about 3 or 4 open spots, I think, up there. That's not a total given position. And I think, coming in as that number, if they're playing 3 up top, coming in as that number 4, 5, and 6 position, I think a lot of these strikers who, don't have as many caps right now have a pretty good chance of, making their way in, squeaking on through. So, but
who would be your number one, Jess, of some of these forwards that we've seen come in?
Who's your number 1 third option?
My number 1 third option, I will have to go with Ali Sitnor.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Ali Sitnor fan. And also I'm biased because she's also a Tar Heel. So, but she's honestly been so consistent for club and country. I mean, despite like Utah being in that bubble, not doing great, the last couple of seasons, she's still been such an outstanding player, which has been so impressive to watch, especially at her age. And now she's doing it at the international level. She's scoring golazos. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. You can't sleep on Sitnor. Come on now.
100%.
Michelle Cooper. Guys.
I love Michelle Cooper too. Yeah.
I was going to say, Olivia Rose agrees with Ali Sitnor. I love that. No, I also agree with Michelle Cooper, though. I'm like, I think there's players who have been in these camps, not just this one in particular, but Michelle Cooper, I think there's a caliber of player that is still very young in terms of the level of their caps for the U.S. women's national team, where it's a benefit to them. They are still maybe a little bit rough around the edges. They're a little bit more rough and tumble. Like you want to see them cutting in. You want to see that fearlessness a bit. And you don't want, and that could be confused for recklessness. You don't want to get like reckless by any means, right? Like you want everybody happy and healthy and successful. And I feel like Michelle Cooper is still kind of that profile of player. Like you could see how she's still sort of figuring things out as she goes, but it's enough. I feel like at this point I've seen enough to say, let's keep her for the duration of this year, because that's what 2025 is supposed to be for this coaching staff. They want to have a very mixed bag of options. And so I definitely want to see Michelle Cooper still get that time.
Yes. That's a fun little bubble of like a player that has enough experience that they feel confident and comfortable, but I don't want to say been burned yet, but they haven't really been burned to some extent, or something has gone terribly wrong that they then become a little bit more timid to try different things. And that's exactly where Michelle Cooper sits right now, in that perfect sweet spot of, I'm just going to try things. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And it has really worked out well for her over these last couple of camps that she's been called in. And then she goes back to Kansas City and is ripping it up. You can see her confidence and level just increasing almost every time she does this rotation of international camp and then back to club. We see that a lot, Jess, though, with some of these players that get called up and then go back to club.
Yes, absolutely. She's just been a thrill to watch, first as a winger. I don't know if you guys know, but she's a natural 9. Mm-hmm. So when she played at Duke, she was a 9. She played in the middle. And then she gets to Kansas City. Vlatko throws her outside. And we saw her in the first season or two of her playing career on the outside, just kind of lurking on the outside. Now she's coming on the inside pocket. Now she's coming inside pocket and ripping shots.
She's learned how to play 7
She's
and
learned
11.
how to play 7 and 11. Yes. And we've got to witness it. So that girl's been nothing short of amazing, improving her game. And it's been fun to watch.